Hey, what's up, YouTube? So, the Ford Explorer, one of my most popular vehicles on my YouTube channel, go figure, with all this other stuff I've got in here. You know what I mean? The Explorer still tops my top 5 videos every month. So, in honor of that, it's been a long time since I did a Ford Explorer video, so I thought I'd give you another one. Um, this truck I've had for a few years now. I actually gave it to my daughter for her birthday, her 16th birthday. So she has been driving it to school and to work. She's a third degree black belt in Taekwondo. So not only does she take class, she also teaches class at the local dojo. So she needs something to drive to work, she needs something to drive to school. What 16-year-old wouldn't like a nice all-wheel drive vehicle with 20-inch wheels, tinted windows, backup cameras, Bluetooth radios, and all that? I mean, I didn't have nothing that nice when I was 16. What I thought I'd do today is I'm doing some maintenance on it. First thing is I had to go fill it up with fuel, and I've been running the Blue Handle E15 in it. This truck runs really well on that. I can run E85 through it, which is the flex fuel, the yellow handle, orange handle. But after 2 tanks of just E85, it'll show a lean condition, throw a check engine light. So if you cycle like 1 tank of E85 yellow and then go back to the blue handle, you're fine. The only reason I switched is...
So unfortunately my microphone died during that, so I got to do some dubbing audio in here, but... I switched because if the lean condition just E85, I went back to E15, and it averages, just to give you an idea, on pump gas, it'll average about 15.8 to 16 miles to the gallon on the average. And on blue E15, it'll average 13.8 to 14. On straight E85, it'll average about 12.8 to 13.5, just to give you an idea of the gas mileage on this thing. So part of what I'm doing now is talking about the maintenance on the vehicle, winterization, if you will. So we're going to walk over here and take a look at it under the hood. So first thing is we're going to check the oil here. That's the oil dipstick on the left side of the motor. It's a 4.0 6-cylinder. And I just changed oil recently, so it was fine. You look at the master cylinder here for the brakes. We want to see where the level is. It's down a little bit from the line, but you don't add fluid to it. You actually, that's an indication that your pads are wearing and getting thinner, but I've checked them. They still have a lot of life left in them, but don't ever add fluid here. That's just your telltale sign. And then your power steering, you want to be halfway on your reservoir there. And what this does is make sure you got plenty of fluid. Now, I had a leak on here before, so my daughter and I changed the cap on it, and we got one from the local parts store. It was less than 15 bucks, but there's a rubber O-ring seal on the inside of this thing, and it just gets compressed over time, and it was starting to leak all over the top of the unit. So it took me a minute to figure it out. It just needed a new cap. So if you never put a cap on it, fix that leak, wiped everything off. We checked the battery. The battery, when it's just sitting at rest, should be 12.5 to 12.8 in that range. And then when the alternator's running, it should be about 13.8 or higher. I did just put an alternator on this vehicle not too long ago, and it is an AC Delco style replacement. This has been working very well. No issues whatsoever. While we're in here, we'll check the belt. Make sure there's no cracks in it, and it's fine. It looks good. And then the air filter, what I do is take the air box off. It's a K&N air filter, so I can just basically spray it off and rinse it out, blow air through it, and it's clean. And then the radiator overflow, there's some marks here for cold or warm. I just got through driving it, so it's right in between. So that all looks good too. While we're in here just looking over everything, the plugs and wires I just changed recently. It runs great. Grab this light. One thing to look for is any vacuum leaks that you might see. So there's vacuum tree right here that comes out of the firewall, and it runs down in 2 different directions. The one that runs up to the front here was actually off one day, and I had this vacuum leak figured out. So it took me a minute, but it's literally right under the alternator. It's hard to get to, but it plugs into a little valve there. And I got that plugged back on and fixed the vacuum leak. As long as you don't have any cracks or anything, that's pretty much what you're looking for. No hoses are loose, having a vacuum leak. Not only will it affect your idle, it'll also affect your gas mileage. And then you look at the heater hoses. just inspect your heater hoses, make sure they're in good shape, squeeze them. And the radiator hose, I've changed all that recently, so they're all in really good shape. And right here on top, that is the thermostat housing. Most of those from the factory are plastic and they're known to crack. I found an aftermarket one which is made out of aluminum. Put it on, have zero issues since. So overall, just want to make sure that it's tuned up and ready. Walk around it, washed it, cleaned it, made sure all the maintenance was up to spec on it, and then check the air pressure in the tires. And part of that was putting them all about 33 pounds all the way around. I think the manual calls for 30 in the front, 32 in the back, but you can see how they're wearing. They're wearing nice and even, and I do rotate them every oil change. Because they're 20-inch wheels, it's good to have a little bit more air pressure in them, in my experience. I run 20 and 22 in a lot of vehicles, and you add about 1 or 2 more pounds over what the factory tag would say, and you're normally fine. It normally wears nice. From there, we'll shut the hood, and now we'll just make sure everything else is in good working condition. So we'll go in here and turn on the lights. And what we're looking for here is to see if any bulbs are burned out. So you can see there's the headlights and fog lights, the marker lights, everything's working on the front. We'll go around to the back. And now we see the tail lights are working. And you look up under here, you can see the license plate lights are also working. So all that passes, we're good there. So now you gotta turn the key forward. Or actually we can check the bright lights. So there's your high and low, bright lights work. So now we'll turn those off, we'll turn the key forward, and now we can check the turn signals. So we just turn the key forward, turn on the left signal. And it should be flashing there, which it is. We'll go back here to the back. And there you go. That's great. So that passes. And we'll turn on to the right side. Same thing. It's flashing there. And we'll go up to the front and it is flashing there. So all the lights are working fine. The turn signal light, bulb indicator like that, and the brake light's the same. So we actually just tested the brake lights at the same time. So all that looks great. I'd already cleaned up the interior, got everything on the outside cleaned and polished and ready to go. So at this point, the vehicle's ready to get back to my daughter. Just some normal maintenance in between the oil changes and tire rotations and all. This is just something you do for winterization, where you want to check it and make sure your tire pressure is the biggest thing. When it gets cold, the tire pressure will drop. And if you got a check engine light for tire pressures, which this vehicle doesn't, but if your newer one does, typically it can be under the threshold and you just need to add a couple pounds of air to it. I have a digital gauge I use, and I make sure they're exactly where I want them to be. Overall, the paint on this thing's still pretty good shape. There's a few little imperfections on it. You see right here behind the bug guard. These aluminum hoods were notorious back then for having what looks like cancer where the paint pops off of it. So that bug deflector is kind of a twofold. It covers it up so you don't see it, plus it keeps the rocks and all from hitting the windshield if you get behind a car throwing rocks. That kind of helps. Other than that, the hood itself is probably the worst on this thing. You see where the clear's coming off a little bit there, just where the sun's fried it over the years. Before I got it, the vehicle stayed outside all the time. So other than that, for what I paid for this truck, if you go back to some of my videos, I've had it about 5, going on 6 years now. Paid about $2,700 for it. The only major repairs were the transmission I had to do and some suspension stuff on it. I did wheels and tires and just a basic tune-up. But overall, just a few modifications, the grill, the headlights, and all that, tinted windows, the wheels are the biggest things that set this off from your stock one. Hope you enjoyed the video.